humans of the interwebs! Welcome to eSpot Live. I am Ellie. This is Rodney. Rodney is my emotional support duck and comes in especially handy, really pulling his weight on Mondays. Happy Monday. I've already got Panda and Silly and G-Man in the chat, so it's already an amazing Monday. Super excited to be here. Just before... Not just before I went live, but just before I came up on the screen, Panda redeemed Hydrate, and I mentioned that I took a sip, but they couldn't see me, and I feel like I'm being doubted, so... Hydrate. There we go. Alright. I always start these with disclaimers, and I always look to the side when I do this. I don't even know why. But, so today's disclaimer is a very tentative. This should be the smoothest stream we've had in a little bit. I've been having some interwebs issues. I ran some tests ahead of time. I did what I could, and everything seemed to be running super smoothly before I went live today. So my hope is that that is true for you guys right now, and that continues on. But as always, please let me know how it is on y'all's end. The only other disclaimer is I did have to reset the sound, so if the background music is too loud or not loud enough, let me know, and I'll adjust that too. But yeah, it's still, like, I'm not getting all the notifications that I usually get. So, there we go. Silly saying, can confirm video and audio are, like, A+++ at this time. Yes! So far, perfect. Knock on wood, it's gonna stay that way. We're gonna just hope and lean into it. So yeah, interwebs and sound volume levels are my only real disclaimers. The next thing I want to shout out isn't a disclaimer, but what we're listening to is yet another new album just dropped by Zombie in a Jar. Hey, Wolf's here too! Welcome, Wolf! Good to see you in the chat. Yeah, we're listening to a brand new album, Zombie in a Jar. It's called We're All Mad Here. Available on Spotify and Apple Music and pretty much anywhere you can get music. So go check it out if you like what you hear in the back of my stream. Yay! And always, whenever I pitch Zombie in a Jar, I make sure to pitch the song Doomsday for reasons. Go listen to Doomsday. There it is. Hello. Panda saying, woo woo, I've been listening to it myself. It's fire. It really is. It's I feel like Zombie in a Jar's got a lot of electronic music feel, and this one definitely still has that, but is also kind of more dubsteppy. I like it. Thanks so much for the cheer, Wolf! We're getting off to a really good start today. I appreciate all of you. Happy Monday indeed. Rodney approves. And on that note, might as well jump in to news topics of the day. Today we're actually going to open with Epic versus Apple. Last time I closed with it, and it just kind of was ongoing. So this time we're gonna open with it. See how long I take on these particular topics, which is excellent. Oh, come on! G-Man just redeemed Lose the Glasses. So what, that's 5 minutes, right? That was mean. I was just about to start! Okay. Dang it. So I'm not completely blind. I just have trouble focusing on things, like the topics I'm meant to chat about. So there's that feedback. Okay, we're gonna try anyways, and we're gonna see what happens, because adventure, why not? Silly's like, oof, right out the gate. That's how I'm feeling. And Jima's like, talk about other things then. I already shamelessly pitched Zombie in a Jar and Doomsday. Plug your stream, other streams, new games. Alright, so DVSI Entertainment has a bunch of affiliated streamers. Should be on our little banner thing when you look us up. Check out really all of the streamers. There's... I'm getting the chat spam with things I should talk about. This is awesome. Check out all of our affiliated streamers. We love them. We stand them. Check out Elevated, because it's me, and I'm learning to play video games live, because if I'm gonna embarrass myself, why not do it live? Panda says, tell people where to donate. That's somewhere in my notes that I can't read right now. So if you have a link, then I'll totally hype it. Wolf's Redeeming Hydrate. Appreciate it. Especially because I feel like I'm getting a little flustered. There we go. I got my nose. How did I even manage that? Anyways, G-Man says, E3! Ah! That's right. Super, super, super stoked about that. DVSI Entertainment is going to E3. So stinking excited for that. We've got a lot of things that we're working really hard on, and that we'll be presenting, some of which you guys have seen teasers of. You're going to see more about Awoken, which is available for pre-order on Steam. And you're going to see more about Last Shot, which is available to be wishlist on Steam. And you're going to see more about some other things that I cannot yet talk about. There we go. Haha! Panda gave me a little cheat there. Thank you, Panda. Scroll down to the About section. There's a banner that says donate with a link attached. That's good to know. I don't know how I didn't know that. Well, I don't see the other end of the stream from where I'm sitting. So, donate. We're working on, well, that sounded like a command. If you'd like, we'd get a kick out of you donating. We're working on, a bunch of really, really cool stuff. Last Monday, we did a very special stream where I played Last Shot with, several of our developers, and, guys, I'm stoked about it. The developers are stoked about it. We're super excited for this game, and we're working on kind of raising funds to just get it going. So, yeah, check it out. And then Silly says, you aren't down here in the weeds with us little people. I feel like I missed something. Oh, is that because I'm saying I can't see the other end of the stream? Because that just means that I'm streaming. Yeah, I don't get the luxury of watching eSpot Live. I have to embarrass myself live on eSpot Live. It's a party. I enjoy it though. It's fun. And Wolf says, I'll do shots with Yellow anytime. Rama's good. Excellent, excellent. I'm still gonna stick with water while I'm being recorded on the interwebs. Just in case. Yeah, there we go. I think that's all the major plugs that I have. I have a couple other things that I'm thinking about, but I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about them yet, so I feel like I should not plug them yet. So newsy stuffs. We're gonna try, even though I can't see and I won't be able to for another couple of minutes. Right? Or did I math wrong? Hold on. When did I take off my glasses? At least another minute. Alright. First to chat about, again, we're gonna dive back into the Epic versus Apple case, and just chat about some of the really kind of fun, random tidbits that have so far been revealed through this court case. Real quick shout out, Silly saying, go ahead and tell us, we're good with secrets. I believe that the internet at large on a recorded live broadcast is excellent with secrets. Good plan, good plan. Alright, hey, I can put on my glasses now. I tried to get into the topics while unable to see, but ooh, I can see. Okay, Epic versus Apple, Epic versus Apple, Epic, one of those. A lot has come out in this court case. As I kind of gushed about last week, we're realizing that this entire industry is built on secrets, and the US court system is not built for secrets because it's all a matter of public record. So, in between rush, last second requests to hold things from the public record, we've gotten some really fun random things out of this court case. So I want to talk about a couple of the juicy ones, because why not? As reported by Insider, they kind of picked 5 fun facts, I suppose, from the case. So I'm gonna chat about them. So, background, obviously, Apple and Epic are in a battle triggered by Fortnite. I don't know if I've specifically mentioned this recently, but it's the court case itself is taking place in the state of California. And this is the culmination of what has been a year-long drama fest of a spat between two massive business giants that has been both fun and terrifying to watch. So Epic was the one that filed the suit against Apple. The suit filed last summer after Apple pulled Fortnite from the App Store. But then it immediately came out that Apple pulled the game from the App Store because Epic violated the terms of its developer agreement by implementing a payment system in-game that enables players to circumvent the Apple fee. But then Epic slapped back with, well, you're a monopoly anyways, so we can do what we want. And then argues that iPhones and iPads are no different from computers, therefore they shouldn't have to pay an additional fee. Whole cluster fluff. It's been fun. The in-person trial began last Monday, and yeah, it's at the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California in Oakland. And it's being presided over by Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers, and it's scheduled to last for approximately 3 weeks, just of the hearings before the verdict is rendered, according to the filings. So, it's been a week now, and my, what we've learned has been fun. I mean, there's been major financial disclosures, there's been company secrets revealed, there's been private emails made public. It's a treasure trove of information. As Silly says, it's been the clash of tech titans. Appreciate that. So, first thing that we've learned is, apparently, according to Microsoft, Xbox console sales aren't actually profitable, and they never have been. I didn't really see that coming, especially in this particular court case. But after about 2 decades of sales, apparently Xbox consoles haven't actually been a profitable product for Microsoft. The Washington-based tech giant is selling Xbox at a loss, according to a sworn testimony from Microsoft's VP of Xbox Business Development, Lori Wright. So the question she was directly asked, and this was on Wednesday, was, has Microsoft ever earned profit on the sale of an Xbox console? The response is no. Wright has appeared as a witness in the ongoing trial. She's answered a variety of questions about Microsoft, Xbox, digital storefronts. Microsoft has openly supported Epic's lawsuit against Apple, and the subject of Xbox profitability came up in questioning, particularly because of how Microsoft's console business works. So instead of making money on the console itself, the company makes money from game sales through its digital storefront, from their subscription services like Xbox Game Pass, and from sales of accessories like gamepads. So their whole business model is apparently set up to sell the consoles themselves at or slightly less than cost, and to earn money through other means. So Microsoft, like other console makers, takes a cut of every sale on its digital storefront. That cut's usually about 30%, which is kind of the standard in the video game distribution market. Apple takes a similar cut from games sold on its iOS App Store, which is part of what Epic is contesting in the court case against Apple. But as I talked about last week, Microsoft has recently made the cut to 12% rather than 30%. So that's interesting. That is not something that I knew or would have assumed. But it's an interesting point to learn. So that's one thing that we learned that I don't think anybody expected out of this particular court case. And before I move on to the next point, just shout out to the chat. Wolf is saying, we've learned that junior high kids run Fortune 500 companies. And then Silly says, I think the business term for that is loss leader, just for your info. Don't remember how I know that. It's been fun realizing who runs the world. The second thing that we learned is that Apple is reportedly making huge margins on the App Store. So one of Epic's expert witnesses Berkeley Research Group managing director Ned Barnes, that was a mouthful, said that Apple is really enjoying enormous margins on the App Store, in the high 70s for the last 2 years at least, according to his estimations. He wrote for the court case in my expert report dated February 16th, 2020, using Apple testimony and financial information available to me at that time, I calculated the App Store's operating margin percentage to be 79.6% for each of fiscal year 2019 and fiscal year 2018. He also said that Apple, quote, produced additional documents, end quote, for the trial that demonstrated slightly lower percentages for the 2 years, but that the numbers are, quote, consistent with and confirm the reasonableness of the calculations presented in my expert report, end quote. And then Apple came back and disputed his report, saying Epic's experts' calculations of the operating margin for the App Store are simply wrong. So there's that. Again, the core of this lawsuit right now in the trial, specifically what Epic is accusing Apple of, is that Apple operates a monopoly within their App Store by refusing to allow competing app stores on the iOS platform, in addition to not allowing third-party payment systems. And so this really, really high profit margin from the App Store is what Epic is arguing as part of the reason that Apple's not allowing either of those two things to happen. The next thing we learned, number 3, is that Fortnite is making Epic billions of dollars every year. Primarily on PlayStation 4. So the less surprising aspect of this is that Fortnite makes a massive amount of money. Literally to the tune of several $billion per year for the last several years. In 2020 alone, Epic made over $5 billion in revenue, according to sworn testimony from Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney. Between 2018 and 2019, Fortnite brought in over $9 billion. That's a billion with a B. It's insane. Epic makes more... Epic makes more than just Fortnite. Like, that's not the only thing they make. Produce the Unreal Engine. They operate the Epic Game Store. They own and publish several other big games. Rocket League, Fall Guys. But data that Epic presented during the trial shows that while those projects do make hundreds of millions of dollars, like, they're not profitable, but they do not generate nearly as much revenue as Fortnite. Fortnite makes a lot of money. As Silly saying, it's the only thing they need to make, apparently. They would certainly be very, very successful if that's literally all they ever did. And again, I'm just trying to wrap my head around the fact that they're like, oh no, that only makes us a couple $100 million a year. It's nothing. Can we trade? Anyways. No, I wouldn't actually trade anything. That was just revenue. I'll trade revenue. There we go. That's where I'm going with this. Anywho, the fourth juicy little tidbit we learned is that apparently Epic CEO Tim Sweeney sent Apple CEO Tim Cook a 2 a.m. email declaring war. So when we talk about these people being like junior high levels of petty, it's not really, we're not really kidding. So this whole debacle started at 2 a.m. Pacific time on August 13th of 2020, when Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney sent an email to Apple CEO Tim Cook and several other Apple executives that laid out Epic's plan to cut Apple out of payments in Fortnite on the iPhone and iPad. It was intended as a declaration of war. So Sweeney wrote, quote, I'm writing to tell you that Epic will no longer adhere to Apple's payment processing restrictions. Today, Epic is launching Epic Direct Payments in Fortnite on iOS, offering customers the choice of paying in-app through Epic Direct Payments or through Apple Payments, and passing on the savings of Epic Direct Payments to customers in the form of lower prices. Burn. So in response to that, that's when Apple pulled Fortnite from its iPhone and iPad store, the game is unplayable on both now, and Epic sued Apple the very same day. So this email was just like one of many private messages between these two companies that was uncovered as evidence that, again, is just really demonstrating how personal this is, if that's a good word for it. Silly says, you, me, digital parking lot, 10 a.m. Something like that. I just love the level of petty in that. Literally a 2 a.m. email directly from CEO to CEO. Like, okay. Anyways. Wolf says at least they told him. Right? That's true. I don't even have anything to add to that. It's fantastically petty on its own. So the fifth. Wow, I already got to fourth. The fifth thing that was uncovered and talked about by Insider is that Fortnite was such a big deal on the PlayStation 4 that Epic was able to force Sony to overturn a long-standing precedent in gaming. So this was back in 2018 in September. After months spent fighting a losing battle in the court of public opinion, Sony finally gave in. So that was when they allowed Fortnite to be playable on the PS4 with friends on other platforms. I mentioned again last week that one of the things that has come out of this court case is very public confirmation that Sony isn't a huge fan of cross-platform play, that nobody was really surprised by. But that's why this is coming out, was because Fortnite was the one to bust that precedent, essentially, because the people demanded it. Sheer popularity kind of pressured PlayStation into opening it up to cross-platform play. And Fortnite was the first ever game to allow players on all platforms to play together. So Sony, in its announcement at that time, said this represents a major policy change for Sony Interactive Entertainment. So it was clear at that time, with the game playable across all other platforms, that Sony was almost certain to give in. Tens of millions of people were playing Fortnite, and they were earning the most from players on Sony's PlayStation 4, according to documents from Epic that have been presented as evidence in this trial. So between January of 2019 and July of 2020, which was just before Fortnite was pulled from the App Store, Epic was earning just shy of $150 million a month on average from PlayStation players, according to their own reports. By comparison, the company was earning about $23 million per month on average from iOS players. So they're making far more money on PlayStation than they are on iOS. And so I've talked a little bit before about how that seems to kind of be part of the backbone of this lawsuit, is their confidence that even should they lose, they won't be losing that much in the grand scheme of life. $23 million a month is a lot of money for the little people in the weeds. Of which I am one of them, despite what Silly says. But apparently that is such a low percentage of the income that they were willing to make this bet, and it remains to be seen how this is going to play out. This is, like I said, we've reached the end of week 1 out of a minimum of 3. Obviously, as more news comes out related to this topic, we will continue to share it because I am living for the drama. Also, very curious as to how this is going to impact precedent moving forward. So yeah, that's all I got on that particular topic, but the next one's actually really related. Specifically to itch.io. Is it itch.io or itch.io or itch.io? Somebody tell me in the chat, because again, this is one of those ones that I look up every time I have to talk about it, and I find a different answer every time. As Wolf says, oh, that's not nearly enough. We need at least 40 million now. Right? I'd be down for 40 million. Okay, but that could still be itch.io or itch.io. Itch.io? It's I-O? Like an I? And then Silly says, I don't know about you guys, but I don't get out of bed for more than 50 million. And then I was like, yeah, less. I figured that was probably less than 50 million. Sarcasm. Itch.io is how Panda says it. Itch.io. I still like itch.io, but I think that's wrong, so I'm gonna try to stick to itch.io. Anywho. So this is connected to the drama, but still drama in and of itself. Essentially, everybody involved in this drama is, like, dragging other people into it. So we've seen Valve dragged into it. We've seen, like, all these other companies just ride in the wave that is this Epic versus Apple. And, most recent to be dragged into it is itch.io. Because just 2 weeks ago, which was right before this lawsuit kind of launched, Epic added the itch.io app to its store. That was a little bit of a head scratcher. Itch.io is a competing storefront, for one. So the question was kind of like, why would someone want to go through one storefront to then buy games on another storefront? But under the circumstances, it started to kind of make some sense as a demonstration of Epic's willingness to embrace competition and share space with other sellers. So when you're looking at it from the fact of, well, Epic is trying to prove that someone else is a monopoly, they know that they also have to try to prove that they're not. Oh, goodness. Wolf just redeemed Lose the Glasses. Y'all. You just have it in for me today. Alright. I'll redeem Hydrate myself. G-Man just goes, this is what kind of day it is. You know, it is a Monday. But I thought it was, like, it was looking up because of all the lovely people in the chat who have decided to blind me. Again, I should say, I'm being really dramatic here. I'm not blind without my glasses. I just struggle to read, which is a lot of what I do here. Hey-o. Okay, so a huge portion of what Epic is looking to prove is that Apple is a monopoly and they are not. Silly says, and now you can't tell how it's looking. There we go. Panda says, I'll rework the rewards tomorrow. You're just gonna make it easier for people to take my classes, aren't you? It's fun. It's one of the few rewards that I can actually do, I suppose. So, you know, I can't complain too hardcore. Also, I did a decent job on my eyeshadow today, so there we go. Panda says, I was on your side. Then you had to say that. That's fair. I complain a lot, but it's all in good fun. Right. Trying to find where I left off. So yeah. Epic is trying to say Apple is a big bad monopoly, but obviously they have to prove that they're not. One of the ways that it looks like they tried to do so was adding another storefront to their storefront. It's been fun. But this has led to a very interesting twist in the case. When Apple decided to go, Apple's lawyer decided to go after Epic for enabling the sale of offensive and sexualized content through its storefront. So Epic curates the content on its store fairly selectively, but itch.io is not known to do so, and currently has more than 2,200 games tagged as adult. There are a lot of games there. I'm not going to read all of them out loud, but according to Apple, they are both, quote, offensive and sexualized, end quote. The lawyer added that some of the game titles are, quote, so offensive we cannot speak about them here, end quote. I also love the affronted innocence there. Like, I don't know, say what you want, but like a lawyer standing there going, "Oh, I am scandalized by the title of this game." It just, something about that cracks me up. And you know what? There are some bangers, so to speak, to be found on the adult selection of itch.io's storefront. There's titles like Horny Chronicles, Deviant Anomalies, 69 Days After, Future Love Space Machine, Adult Sci-Fi Sex. Now that's in my, like, mouthful there. Those are just to name a few. So, yeah, okay, there's stuff there. It's marked and flagged as adult content, as is typically how things like this work on the interwebs. Some of the art for these games is not safe for work. Again, it's flagged as such. But is it this, like, absolute hive of depravity that's described by Apple's lawyers? Not really. Double Fine community manager Heather Alexandra tweeted, "Let's be serious. Itch is not some depraved place or whatever the lawyers in this case wants to imply. The games found there do tremendous work in furthering the medium, and 95% of the reason it's even being targeted is because it's a sex-positive, LGBTQIA-friendly storefront." Josh is in the chat! Josh the Lego dude. Hi! I don't have glasses on, and so I can only kind of see, because somebody redeemed lose the glasses. So that's what you've missed thus far. And I'm talking about itch.io and some of the content they have. And the fact that Apple's getting really salty about it, trying to find, like, literally anything to pull into this court case. Wolf is saying, if properly labeled and such, it's on the parents, and public puts too much on companies for stuff like that when parents are lacking and giving kids too much control. Yeah, I mean, I do think that there, like I've said this before, where, yeah, there are lines exist and everything, but again, if it's marked as adult content, it's adult content. Like, if they were marketing for children and, like, not flagging certain things, then I would understand concern there, sure. Because parents should have the right to at least know what their kids are consuming, I think. Up to a certain... that's a whole nother thing. But, I understand the need for parental controls, is what I'm saying. But, like, once you have that marked... It's titled, it's flagged as adult content. If you choose to then, like, literally agree to move forward past that adult flag, it's kind of on you. But hey, so yeah, responding to that particular line of inquiry, Epic Vice President Steve Allison said the company only hosts itch.io, not the games themselves, and expressed some doubt about whether Epic would want to provide access to itch on mobile devices. When asked whether he would take action, now that he's fully aware of the kind of content that itch.io carries, he said that he would, quote, dig in when we get back, end quote. Allison did express support for itch.io, saying that it is an incredible community for developers that we support fully. They have an open platform and therefore have different moderation standards than the Epic Game Store, end quote. When pressed on the availability of offensive and sexualized content on the storefront, though, he did say, quote, I don't support sexualized content of any sort, end quote. So it's that gentle bit of distancing as these things go, but even so... You know, kind of makes you wonder what they're playing. They're trying to have it both ways. They're trying to, like, get in on the accessibility of being connected to itch.io and on the not monopoly portion of getting in on itch.io, but also, like, distancing themselves. But, like, they're their own thing. We don't necessarily condone everything that they do. So it's just, again, it just feels like a bunch of unneeded drama in the end. Like, again, if you're not coming in saying, like, something's wrong or something needs to be changed, or... Like I said, it would be one thing if Apple was coming in and accusing itch.io of, like, inappropriate conduct, but they're just trying to take some sort of moral high ground that frankly doesn't exist in the video game world. Like, why? Anyways, that's just Ellie's opinions on that. And then, okay, the best part to come out of this was itch.io's response to it, which they just kind of, they took the whole thing in stride and ran with it. And so they went ahead and tweeted in response, guys, Apple's lawyers just called. They said we need to turn off all the games. Games are now illegal. And I just appreciate them calling out the drama and pointing out how ridiculous it sounds. So yeah, that's what we got on itch.io being dragged into the drama by Apple. I got distracted. I could have put these on like halfway through that topic, but I didn't even know. Now I feel like they're off kilter. Yeah. Fun stuffs. Who knew that the world of law would be such like just dramatic meeting place for video game giants? I didn't. Wolf saying, how can companies rightfully be responsible for what the general public lets their kids do, and then they only complain when they get in trouble for letting their kid do it and have the spotlight put on them? I mean, I get that. Like I said, I think things should be properly labeled. I'm 100% behind that. I think that communities should be made safe places. So I've talked a lot about how I do think that there needs to be ways to moderate and hold people accountable on the internet that haven't really caught up with the medium. And I still stand by that. I think that, you know, if people are being hurt, things need to be done about it. But at the same time, just like going outside the house, and if you bring your child into an adult entertainment storefront in the physical world, then it is your responsibility as a parent, right? That's just something that everybody can acknowledge, is that if we're talking about physical storefront, a child walking in the door, you know, if somebody in the store can recognize that as a child, then they can be like, hey, this isn't for you, and kind of shuffle them out the door, but they ultimately don't necessarily hold that responsibility as much as the people allowing and or bringing them into the store. So I feel like it makes sense that, again, if this is clearly labeled as adult content. Josh says, by law, adult entertainment shops are required to disallow minors from entering. Yes, by posting signage, and by, if you see someone who is clearly a minor, escorting them out, and by doing all of those things. Depending on the state or whatever, there might be people who are carded in certain situations. But having walked into places that I was not old enough to walk into because I happen to look old enough to walk into, it's not 100%... Like, there's only so much that they can do. They can properly notify and put up the signage and do all these things. But they can't full-on stop people from entering the store. Does that make sense? I don't know. I'm digging myself into a hole here. That's not really working, because I don't feel like I'm properly saying what I'm intending to, and that's fine. There is some responsibility for sure. But there's also, once you've properly labeled something, once you have made it so you cannot enter without, like I said, going forward, confirming your birth date, and going forward and confirming all of these things, you can't disallow adult content for existing. Because that's more of a moral preference than a legal precedent. Like I said, if Apple was coming forth and saying, hey, itch.io isn't properly labeling things, that's a problem, sure, that could be part of the lawsuit. I get why they could bring that in. But if Apple's just saying, they put distasteful content, how could you? Which, I don't know. They're like, why? Why is this being brought up? And Josh is saying Google came under fire for collecting data on under 13-year-old users, so now they have a bunch of eclectic preventative measures in place so they don't do it. Yes, like measures like saying you can't do this or confirm your birth date, which an adult content store that says this is adult content, confirm your birth date, is doing. I mean, once you, like, if you have a smart enough 10-year-old, they're gonna get past all of those measures. So there's that. And then Wolf's saying that's why they have you put in your credit card to verify age. However, you can't stop everyone. Some parents just don't care enough to be a parent and just want to be their kid's friend. Yeah, so like I said, put up proper measures, 100%. Be held accountable if you're not putting up proper measures, 100%. But again, Apple calling out itch.io for being distasteful. Why? What does that do, other than just, like, throw in a red herring in the middle of a massive court case and drag other people into the drama? I don't know. I don't get it. Yeah. Anyways, next topic, unless y'all have more to say, in which case, feel free to continue the chat in the chat. I always gesture in the wrong direction, because it's flipped on my screen. The chat is that away. Next up, which kind of ties a little bit into this idea of, again, I do personally believe that there should be some ramifications and or accountability for sure. Just really quick. Okay, so addressing Josh the Lego Dude's comment, Apple did successfully get Tumblr to remove all adult content by threatening to pull them off the App Store. Well, that's the whole point. They've already pulled Epic off of their App Store. So, and Epic's not bowing to them, and so now they're trying to, like, shame them. I don't know. But, like, I feel like now it sounds like I'm really strongly taking Epic's side. They're both sketchy. Epic just sent it, like, an email in the middle of the night and was like, I'm a bypass our agreement, sucker. Like, that's not really great behavior either. So, in this particular instance, like, bringing itch.io into it, would I play these games? Probably not, personally. Would I be upset if they were not properly labeled and there was, like, some news article of a bunch of kids accidentally playing something and being traumatized? Okay, yeah, I could get behind that. But I'm not going to judge them for having adult content. That's clearly marked as adult content. So, I mean, it's just, that's it. Anyways, let's see. Panda's responding to that. Pretty sure that was Yahoo, not Apple, that got Tumblr to remove their not safe for work content, and that was another case of Tumblr not having a good way to block the adult content. And again, that goes into too. It should be properly marked. There should be precautions in place, as Josh brought up when I brought up that real-world scenario of a storefront. There are precautions in place at storefronts, and they are meant to disallow minors from entering. But you can only do so much if they're subverting that. Once it's properly marked, once the precautions have been taken, if somebody walks in with a fake ID and their parent's credit card to prove their age, then the store can't really do much. So, yeah, both sides. Be safe, mark your work, but things kind of exist and are allowed to exist on the internet. And again, I just want to go back to the fact that Apple's comment on it seemed to me to just kind of be like there didn't seem to be much purpose behind it, aside from a very judgmental, snide, you allow that on your service? It just was odd to me. And yes, that particular glasses adjustment was part of that comment. Panda says agreed. All in all, we just need to figure out a better system. I concur. For sure. Yeah, so playing off of this concept of, like I said, both sides, there's a limit in what you can control about what other people do, but then there should be accountability. But this plays into what we talked about on Thursday. We had a lot of conversation going back and forth about moderation and when people should be held accountable for things spoken on the internet. And I'm really curious as to what you guys think about this. So, in this particular instance, Activision, as a company, has cut ties with a voice actor following the uncovering of several sexist remarks. Little more detail on that. Activision has cut all ties with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019's Ghost voice actor, Jeff Leach, after a video montage was released showing him using sexist and misogynistic insults and language. Leach also voiced Ghost in Warzone. So in a Twitter video posted on May 7th by Nitro Luke DX, Leach is seen using misogynistic language. So it's several clips. In the first clip, during a 2017 live stream, it showed Leach directly insulting Twitch streamer The Zombie Unicorn when she didn't appear during a live show by saying that the reason she didn't show up was that, quote, she'd actually have to be amusing. She couldn't just rely on her horrendous cleavage, end quote. The video contains even more recent comments from Leach as well. So these were recorded from a live stream where he was playing Call of Duty Warzone in 2020. Call of Duty news outlet Charlie Intel reached out to Activision after the video released and received a statement confirming that the publisher had severed all ties with Leach. Their quote is saying, "Sexism has no place in our industry, our games, or in society. Activision is no longer working with Jeff Leach. We strongly condemn these remarks. We are committed to delivering a fun and safe experience for all players," end quote. Jeff Leach then responded to the video on Twitter, stating that it was taken out of context and called it, quote, targeted character assassination, end quote. Leach also claims that the comments he made during a Warzone livestream were in response to a toxic troll. Wolf redeemed hydrate! I'm really, really curious as to what y'all think about this particular topic, because like I said, we talked about it before, about when and how to moderate online words. When is something bullying? When is it something that should have repercussions, and when should it not? I haven't personally seen all of the original stream content. Like, you watch that video that was released and it's a montage, it's clips of things that could have been taken out of context. But as a woman, I have a hard time knowing what context would justify a pointed and derogatory comment about someone's cleavage. Like, why would that be appropriate? Even with context. And I don't know the whole of it. Like I said, I haven't watched all of his streams in context, so I don't know if this is a pattern or anything else, but it seemed to be a pattern because it was in the form of a montage, and Activision seemed to think that it was a pattern enough to cut ties and to publicly renounce that behavior. And from what I can see of it, I would support that action of distancing from that kind of behavior and of somebody being held accountable, because this isn't like a post dragged up from 10 years ago. This is 5 years ago and 2 years ago and 1 year ago. It's like, it's a montage of different events where this kind of behavior and this kind of language has occurred. So from that outside context, I would support that censoring, for lack of a better word. I would support being held accountable for your words. But I'm curious if anybody does end up with opinion, put it in the chat, especially people who are kind of like very unsure about that and saying people shouldn't necessarily be held accountable for things said in the past. When is it past enough that you've seen enough growth that they shouldn't be held accountable? Because 100%, as we talked about last week, people do change. People grow. And again, in this instance, Leach isn't even necessarily saying that he's changed since that occurred, but more so that it was taken out of context. I don't know. I don't particularly like that kind of... I don't choose to put myself in communities that use that kind of language even playfully. So there's that. Real quick, jumping over to the chat before I switch to the next topic. Wolf commented on the topic before. I posted a video on my YouTube under private right, just for me to send to the Unity closed beta team I'm working with. Got an email from YouTube saying they blocked the video and labeled it adult, and all it had was making a material in a mobile app with Unity scanner. There was no adult content whatsoever. That kind of plays into this too, like, because we were talking about with moderation and everything like that, with when things are automated, it gets even harder to properly determine what is and is not appropriate. Anyways. Next topic is Golden Globes being boycotted. Again, I feel like that happens quite often to some extent, but now it's getting a bit bigger. So now it's Netflix, Amazon, and many others are publicly boycotting Golden Globes due specifically to the lack of diversity amongst its voting members. So the Golden Globes, if you somehow don't know, they're known for putting on fancy party for the rich and famous, give out awards honoring the best performances, movies, television shows that came out in any given year. The voting membership is known as the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, or HFPA, and it's comprised of 90 foreign film journalists from roughly 55 countries worldwide. The Golden Globes have been attended by Hollywood's biggest stars since 1944, gaining media attention, industry clout. It's a big deal. But it seems like their relevance has kind of been fading over the past several years due to a number of controversies. Firstly, we've seen that the Golden Globes divides their awards by genre, mainly either drama or comedy/musical. Like, those are the only two options. And in recent years, it's caused some issues because people are feeling that certain films are not in the categories that they belong in. Or rather that they're not in... like, they don't belong in the category that they were nominated for. So, a huge example of that was Get Out, which was nominated for Best Comedy or Musical. Have you seen Get Out? I didn't think it was funny. It's... anyways, like I said, it called... it called a lot of things into question. Panda's in the chat going, what? I didn't know that. And Silly saying, and there's so much more diversity of genres and how diverse films are today. That's true. Like, those selections may have made sense in the 1940s. But with the number of films being produced, and the way films are being produced, and the places in which films are being made, like, so many elements to it that go so much further than drama or comedy or musical. So as Silly saying, Les Mis is a musical, but it is definitely not a comedy. And it is a drama, right? So even if you could just call it a musical and not, because it's a like comedy or musical, or musical comedy or whatever, but like it's a drama and a musical. Why are these the only two options? Get Out was, I think, listed as like a horror thriller. Certainly not a comedy. I don't know. And then as Silly saying, there's so many more independent filmmakers now versus the 1940s and 50s with just the big studios. 100% agree. And that's what has kind of added to the controversy here. So yeah, people have been questioning now the validity when those are the only two topics and categories, and you're seeing things like Get Out being nominated for Best Comedy, it kind of calls the whole thing into question a little bit. And then the most recent Golden Globes was shrouded in controversy surrounding their choice of nominations, notably Emily in Paris, as well as the lack of black voters amongst its voting base. They also blocked Korean-led film Minari from being nominated for Best Picture. So now it's starting to look like Hollywood is taking a stand against the Golden Globes in an effort to enact change. So reported by The Wrap, Amazon has joined the growing list of studios, actors, and filmmakers who are all publicly boycotting the famous award show. As many as 100 Hollywood publicists have decided to boycott at this point. Their demands include diversifying the voter base by including more black journalists and women. The HFPA says that they're currently working to rectify the situation by expanding and diversifying their pool of voters. But it might end up being this kind of like too little too late thing, because if Hollywood ends up completely rejecting the HFPA, that could end up spelling the end of the Golden Globes. The show may continue on for some time, but it's going to get harder and harder to find the A-list talent to come on their show, and for American journalists to even cover it. So if their relevance in the awards season completely disappears, then so does the Golden Globes. Award shows in general have been having a hard time keeping up with modern audiences and sustaining viewership. The Oscars saw nearly a 60% dip in ratings. This was also preceded by a number of huge viewership drops for other award shows, including the Golden Globes. So it'll be interesting to see what the future of the Golden Globes award shows in general, but the Golden Globes in particular is. If they're able to make changes that make sense, that actually reflect the audience of people watching and the diversity of people making films, or if it just kind of starts to fade. Catching up on the chat real quick, Silly had mentioned Best Actor/Actress versus Best Supporting Actor/Actress has also been a very weird, confusing distinction. So yeah, sometimes it makes sense. Like, sometimes there's a solid distinction there. And sometimes there's really, really not. And why is, aside from just keeping the A-list big names who are heading up movies separate, why is there a distinction? Because if the performance of a supporting actor is the best acting performance, then it's the best acting performance, right? And then as Silly also says, with all the countries represented, you'd think there'd be more diversity. Right? That actually really surprised me. Both kind of how many countries are involved and also how little diversity there is. And then Wolf is saying, in their opinion, the diversity has gone downhill since BLM came out. In current trends, I've seen Adobe, several other companies stop discounts on everything. Don't get me wrong, got family of ethnic origins, no way bashing, but it went from diverse to only appeasing certain communities. I would disagree with that sentiment. I think that, well, first, I haven't noticed missing out on any deals, so there's that. But also, I think that we have kind of a history that's built up of leaning in a certain way and favoring a certain people group. And we're seeing more and more people demanding representation. And that is a true representation. Because we talk about minorities and majorities, but what we consider the majority isn't actually a reflective majority in most situations. Statistically speaking, 51% of the world's population is female, and yet females are minorities because of historic rights and things of that nature. And when you look at ethnic minorities as well, yes, the different pockets of different ethnicities might be minorities in and of themselves, mostly due to colonization, and again, historic things set in place to prevent ethnic communities from expanding. When you put all the minorities together, they're not as minority as you'd think, but they have continued to be treated as such. So I personally think that the recent movements are just very important and a step forward. And I think that seeing things like this, like the Golden Globes being boycotted, might be frustrating, especially because I can understand celebrating tradition 100%. This has been around since 1944. That's a big deal. But maintaining the status quo for the sole purpose of celebrating history and its sameness and nostalgia, when people are making these changes out of a public demand, I think what's happening is a reflection of what the majority of people want. And I think that's a good thing. As Silly says in reference to that actor, actress versus supporting actor, actress, the only reason that makes sense to separate them is maybe screen time and lines. Like I said, sometimes it is a fairly clear distinction between who's a supporting role and why it's listed as a supporting role and who's not. And then sometimes it just, like, they're not the lead per se, but like, got a solid performance there. Why are they in a separate category? So I get both sides with that one. I completely lost my place in the article. But that's okay. This is actually the perfect time for a regularly scheduled water break. This is the part of the show where I hop off and lecture y'all to drink water, because hydrate or dehydrate, and your kidneys need water in order to live. And you need your kidneys in order to live. So it's really a win-win situation. Yeah. Drink water. I'll be right back. If I can find the button. This could have been a non-awkward transition. Too late now. I'll be back. I am back and hydrated, and I finished my water bottle, with which I'm a little sad about, but also good because I'm hydrated. All right, so I'm about halfway through what I'm meant to be talking about today, and because they were such great conversations, it's already been longer than I usually spend. So, oh, interesting. So Silly says, Judas and the Black Messiah was the movie I was trying to remember from this year. Both the main actors were nominated for Best Supporting Actor and no nominations for Best Actor, but that was the Academy Awards. Okay. I don't know. I haven't seen that one yet. Fully intend to. I'm so behind on films. But that's interesting. And Wolf says the best one in my opinion was Book of Eli. What? Was that this year? Was there a Book of Eli this year? How did I miss that? But yeah. Anyways, I'm going to attempt to not rush through the next topics because, I don't want to rush. But also get to the next topics and focus at least a little bit so we can talk about all of the topics. Okay, so next, new Fable game. First off, woo! Second off, it's gonna be made on Forza's game engine, which is exciting. So Fable is going to be a next-gen experience, and developer Playground Games is committed to that vision by building the next chapter in the beloved franchise with a state-of-the-art game engine. So every year, the Forza engine is widely showcased, tends to boast some incredibly realistic, eye-popping visuals. Editor-in-Chief Andrew Rayner gave the last console entry in the racing series, Forza 4, a 9.25 in no small part due to its stunning details and natural beauty. Hopefully, the new Fable is going to be following suit. So, according to IGN, a software engineer job posting revealed that Playground Games' famous engine, Forza Tech, is being used on 3 large titles, possibly including both the Horizon and Motorsport series. But the 3 titles span across 2 of Xbox's most beloved franchises. The listing also states, quote, in addition to adding new features like ray tracing to support the next console generation, we are also enriching the toolset to support an open-world action RPG, Fable, end quote. Fable fans have been waiting for news of the 4th installment for years. When Lionhead Studio closed down in 2016, the future looked very bleak. However, whispered roommates kind of started and then eventually culminated in an official announcement during the 2020 Xbox Games Showcase. You can watch the cinematic trailer. Looks super exciting. I'm hoping we get to see some in-game footage soon so we can finally see the Forza Tech in action. Yeah. Fable will be launching for Xbox Series X and PC and will join the ever-growing Xbox Game Pass catalog. The official release date has not been unveiled as of yet, but when it is, we will show you. Not show you, tell you. See, I keep getting distracted. Silly says, I'm loving the idea of cars in Fable. Nice. Yeah, super exciting stuff. I haven't played Fable yet. I can say yet now because I play games. Check out Elevated. Alright. Sorry, that was not subtle. Anyways, next up. Do you like board games? Do you like Taco Bell? Have you ever wanted a Taco Bell board game? I've never considered it, but it's going to exist, and that's kind of fantastic. Ravensburger is making a board game with Taco Bell. Taco Bell has partnered officially with Ravensburger to create a new, easy-to-learn board game, Taco Bell Party Pack card game. It's looking like it'll be 2 to 6 players, offer probably about a 20-minute playtime, and it comes served in a novelty Taco Bell food box boasting 112 meal cards, 50 crew cards, and 18 tortilla chip tokens. What? As Silly says, risk Taco Bell. And also, shout out Wolf saying, yes, Fable's overdue. Have remade the first 3 too much. Need a new one. We're getting a new one. Yay! But yeah, Taco Bell board game. According to Comic Book, the game will retail for around $17 and is expected to release sometime in June, so very soon. A description on Board Game Geek says, quote, in Taco Bell Party Pack card game, players gather various kinds of Taco Bell menu items, including crunchy tacos, bean burritos, and freezes, in an attempt to feed a crew of Taco Bell fans. Each member of a player's crew comes with specific cravings that need to be sated, and doing so earns crave chips, tokens that look like tortilla chips and have a surprise amount of points to reveal at the end of the game. Players can also use sauce cards to help snag food items and win. End quote. I kind of love everything about that in a very bizarre way. I say all the time, like, I have a thing for crossovers that nobody expects. This was a crossover that I certainly did not expect. I'd play that, but only while eating Taco Bell because it would make me crave it. But I can't really eat Taco Bell. I have to... Would that be, like, really, really, like, terrible if I played a Taco Bell board game while eating tacos from somewhere else? Am I allowed to say that? I feel like I'm crossing a line here. Silly saying, I really hope they bring back the Taco Bell dog back. Oh, I remember that. Yep. Wolf saying, Taco Monopoly. I mean, they have a monopoly for everything else. Taco Bell probably is a monopoly to a certain extent. Yo quiero Taco Bell. As Silly quotes the famous dog. A little bit of comic book news next. Let's talk not Two-Face, but his wife. I actually really love this because I don't know as much about the comic book world. It's another realm of entertainment industry that I love learning more about. Especially when it's badass women. Woo! In this particular case, it's a villain, but that's okay, because it's a badass villain woman. Anyways, most Batman readers, but also fans of the films, are going to be familiar with the coin-flipping villain Two-Face, also known as Harvey Dent. But they might be surprised, as I was surprised, that his wife, Gilda, is just as much, if not more than, a force to be reckoned with. She has prominently featured in a handful of Batman stories over the years. In her most popular appearances, she has quickly proved that Harvey is not the most fearsome Dent in Gotham City. Gilda Dent has long been established as Harvey Dent's primary love interest in the comics, but her most notable appearance to date was in the classic series Batman: The Long Halloween. This was written by Jeff Loeb with art by Tim Sale. Partially serving as an origin story for Two-Face, this story focuses on Batman, Jim Gordon, and Harvey's attempts to take down Gotham's most elite crime families, while simultaneously pursuing the enigmatic serial killer Holiday, who's targeting the families. Gilda features in as a supporting role as Harvey's wife, and over the course of the series, the reader is led to believe that she's an innocent victim of Harvey's descent into madness. The shocking final twist of the comic casts her in a completely different light, as she's revealed in the final few pages that she was the original Holiday killer. She explained that she saw the toll Harvey's battle against Gotham's crime families was taking on his mental and physical well-being, and decided to just kill off the major players in the families herself. You watch your husband, right, who's like in this legal battle and getting frustrated, and it's taking a toll on his mental health, and you're like, I know the solution. I'll just take out the crime families, 'cause it's easy. Everything about that is fantastic. Gilda becomes a serial murderer, and because of her use of Harvey's notes and research to orchestrate the murders, she's able to do so in a manner that seems professional, so no one, including Batman, ever suspects her. Dude, that's amazing. Batman: The Long Halloween is not the last time that readers got this glimpse of Gilda Dent's more unhinged side. So the new comic, Batman Black and White #5, contains a story titled Blue. This one was written by Marika Tamaki with art by Emanuela Lupacchino and Wade von Grabadger. This story is told from the perspective of Gilda, who narrates through several flashbacks to explain how her life was ruined by her marriage to Harvey and his subsequent transformation into Two-Face. In the years that ensued, Gilda began to harbor resentment towards the way that women, such as her and Harley Quinn, are often unfairly hurt due to their connection to unstable men. So now working as a bartender in the present day, Gilda overhears that the villainous electrocutioner is getting married. At the very end of the story, she confronts him in an alleyway and shoots him, saying, "Consider this a wedding present for the bride-to-be." This newer spin on Gilda versus her portrayal in The Long Halloween features fairly different motivations for the character, but the base concept remains the same. Gilda Dent is not to be trifled with. At her core, she actually becomes more dangerous than Two-Face himself because unlike him, she can hide in plain sight. She doesn't have a costume, she doesn't have a gimmick, she doesn't have a group of henchmen. Nothing outlandish, nothing that draws attention. As she puts it, quote, "You fade into their background," end quote. Love it. No one ever suspects Gilda Dent until it's too late. She's already pulled the trigger. This makes her a very, very compelling minor character in the Batman mythos, and certainly deserving of more attention as the future continues. Her effectiveness as a killer in her most notable appearances really does prove that she can stand toe-to-toe with a lot of the Batman villains that get a bit more book time. I was going to say screen time, but it's not on screen yet. But for now, Gilda continues to stick to the shadows as just one of Gotham's more dangerous residents. Gotta catch up on the chat real quick. Silly says, true love, Gilda and Harvey forever. And then Wolf says, he never listens to Alfred, does he? Batman never listens to Alfred, it's true. And Silly says, some Batmen just want to watch the world burn, Master Wayne. That was a very bizarre, mixed accent that I apologize for, but I appreciate the quote. Yeah, I just, that topic made me happy. So there you go, that's that. And then Will says, The Dark Knight just said, as he said, sometimes what the public needs is someone to hate. Right? But not Gilda, because they don't know she exists. She's just scary in the shadows, and it's fantastic. Last but not least, I mentioned a bit ago that Elon Musk was going to appear on SNL. And there was a lot of hope for what that might do for Dogecoin. Didn't do what I thought it would do. Dogecoin plummeted after Elon Musk's SNL appearance. So there's that. It has been an absolutely phenomenal year for the cryptocurrency Dogecoin. Started off the year with the value of 0.0054 USD. It then benefited from the boom in media attention in January with the GameStop short squeeze becoming public knowledge. Silly saying, do you mean dog? Is it Dogcoin? Doge? Is it Doge or Doge? I'm probably saying it wrong because it's one of those words that I just read and don't actually say out loud. It's pronounced like what could still be either Doge or Doge. Or dog. Or dog. And then G-Man saying I said it right the first time. Doge. Dodge. Wait. Okay, now there's two extra pronunciation possibilities. It's either Doge, Doge, Dog, or Dodge. And I'm even more confused than I started. Debate in the chat. I'll get back to the pronunciation. G-Man said plummeted as in moved back a week. Yes, but still... What even is that? Doges. Silly says, if that's how it's pronounced, I don't like hearing it out loud. I always just thought it was Dogecoin, because isn't it the meme? Isn't it Doge? I thought so. But again, memes aren't typically spoken. G-Man says yes, though. So, Doge. I'm sticking with Doge until somebody proves me wrong. Anywho, I think the surprising thing was people were expecting Leap after the SNL appearance, and the opposite happened. So, while it might not seem like much of a cut or much of a setback, it is not what was anticipated for the long run, which tends to get people to bolt. So there's that. Anyways, there's this dream, if you're not aware, for Dogecoin to hit $1. And it started to not seem so distant. Its peak increased by 400% in just 2 days. It reached over 50 cents earlier this month. But this growth of a whopping 20,000% in 12 months may have come to a peak. It still remains to be seen. But it definitely took a dip after this appearance of Elon Musk. This won't be surprising to anyone who spends an unfortunate amount of time on Twitter, but Musk used his airtime on SNL to mention Dogecoin. This part was expected. The results, however, were unexpected, because the value went down not very long after. Before Musk took the stage, Dogecoin sat at around 70 cents, and in the wake of his performance, it fell to 47 cents. It kept going up and down. But growth seems to be slower than the dip, for sure. The question is, why the 34% drop minutes after his performance? One guess is kind of like I was saying before, is that investors got their hopes up thinking that it was going to skyrocket after the SNL appearance. Musk has been a vocal supporter of Dogecoin. Fans were expecting more than a couple of jokes about it. But when he joked about it, it was mostly making fun of the cryptocurrency. So in one segment, Musk's character was repeatedly asked, what is Dogecoin? With the Tesla CEO giving comically wilder answers every time. Now, anyone who watches SNL shouldn't be too surprised by that, because that's kind of the way SNL runs, is by mocking the things that they're promoting. It didn't seem to work very well. Apparently Wall Street doesn't have a sense of humor. Who knew? Anyways, am I allowed to say that? Ellie's opinion. There. Disclaimed. But alas, Dogecoin once again was bandaged to under 50 cents. But even so, it's a massive gain from last year for sure. So we'll have to see how it goes, if it bounces back, if it recovers from the newfound publicity. But yeah. G-Man saying he didn't even mention it except his mom decrying getting Dogecoin as a gift. There were a couple of mentions, but like all of them were negative. The few times it was mentioned, it wasn't mentioned like people thought it would be. And then, okay, G-Man says, at least in the monologue. So the only mention of it in the monologue was somebody being upset about it. And then there were a couple of jokes, but they were all just not... Again, if you watch SNL, that's kind of what they do. They mock things that are being promoted. Typically, actors or musicians or whatever go on talk shows to talk up things. They go on SNL to joke about it. The jokes just didn't pan out. Silly says, maybe if everyone with Dogecoin uses it to fly to Mars, I won't have this problem anymore. I'm assuming the problem of hearing Dogecoin said out loud. Except if everybody used Dogecoin to fly to Mars, then I'd have to announce it. And you'd hear more Dogecoin. So there. And then Silly also said, F- job on the marketing. Oh wait, I mean F- Job. Well done. A+ pun. Wolf says I missed it. Things like that. That's why I don't like the news. Fair. Yep, that's all I got. That's it. That's it for today. Lawsuits. Batman villains, Dogecoin. Oh my. Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, as always. Thank you for making Monday a little less visible. I appreciate all of your support all the time. I really, really do. Silly says, good job, Ellie. Thank you. Thank you. I greatly appreciate every single one of you. And I'm super excited. I know, like, I feel like my energy just kind of went way down. So many exciting things in the work. We're going to E3, guys. We are so stoked about going to E3. We have so many things to share with you that I can't talk about yet. But hype. Get hyped. E3. It's coming. Ah, and we're going to be there. Zombie in a Jar, speaking of which, is not playing in the background right now. When did that stop? How long have I been talking in silence? I haven't even noticed. I apologize for that. Let's just play songs. Interesting. Nothing's playing right now. But woo, E3! Yay! E3, Zombie Jar, new music. Check it out. Also, Doomsday. Zombie in a Jar. Spotify, Apple Music. Yes, okay. Panda's got the donate link in the chat, which is amazing. If you are interested in supporting us as we move forward and just jump into the foray, please do. That would be really amazing. Not that link? Oh, that's Extra Life. All right, we're gonna have a link. Look for our donation links if you would like to support us and donate and feed our devs. I'm sure they would appreciate it. In the meantime, I will be back on Thursday, 9 p.m. That's 6 p.m. if you live on the other coast. Thank you for all your support. I've been so thrown off by the lack of music. There it is. Now there is a link in the Twitch chat if you would like to donate and feed our devs. We, like I said, just appreciate all of you guys so much. Super excited. We've got so much coming. I'll be back on Thursday, so I will see you guys then. Yeah, in the meantime, stay happy, stay healthy, stay hydrated, have an amazing week, and above all, as always, stay devious.